Hi there, you're watching Market Cafe on ET Now with me, Shreyanshi Singh and Snehisha. And over the next 1 hour, we'll get you news and updates from within the country as well as across the globe, tell you which stocks you should be keeping on your radar and tell you what the brokerages are saying as well. But first things first, Snehi, we've got to take a look at the US markets.
Absolutely, and it's the first trading session that the US had yesterday after the election outcome was rolled in, and lots to talk about in fact when it comes to the US markets. But first of all, let's take a look at what the indices have done on an individual basis, because what stellar moves being seen on the US front. If you take a look at the Dow, that was up more than 3.5%, a 1500 point uptick coming in intraday on the Dow. I don't remember seeing these levels on an intraday basis, at least for the Dow. S&P 500 also 150 point uptick, a 2.5% increase coming in. Nasdaq also almost 3% higher, a 545 point uptick coming in on that one as well. You had the small cap Russell 2000 also, that was up 5.8%, in fact a 130 point uptick coming over there also. And surprisingly, the US VIX was lower by 20.6%. So very massive moves, if we could call that, we've seen on Wall Street yesterday, and the Dow is one to highlight because 1500 point intraday uptick is something that we haven't seen in a very long time for the Dow. But stock futures, when you talk about that looked rather flat last night after a huge market rally following Donald Trump's decisive victory in the presidential election. Now traders are awaiting the Fed Reserve's interest rate decision today, and Trump's triumph in the race for the White House has spurred a surge in stocks that sent the Dow soaring by more than 1500 points, like we mentioned earlier. And Bitcoin also was the one to watch out for. US dollar and bank stocks all jumped as part of Wednesday's post-election advance. Now, on the other hand, several international funds and solar stocks struggled as investors expected the president-elect's policies to hurt these names. So, of course, there are sectors like banking that have done well, but there are also some pockets in the market that struggle because Trump's policies may or may not favor these sectors going ahead. Market participants on Thursday will closely monitor the Fed Reserve's interest rate decision and Chair Jerome Powell's subsequent press conference. Fed funds futures are currently pricing in a 100% likelihood that the central bank lowers the borrowing cost at this gathering, according to CME Group's Fed Watch tool. Now, this would mark the second straight cut after the Fed's decrease in September, which was the first since 2020. Now, before the afternoon announcement, afternoon US time, of course, traders will follow economic data on jobless claims as well as wholesale inventories. On the earnings front, you have Moderna, Warner Brothers Discovery before the bell on Thursday, and results for Block, Pinterest and Rivian are due in the afternoon US times as well. So largely, this is what the US is looking like. Very stellar moves coming in. Just before we move on, let me mark the US 10-year yield, because that has posted a huge lead to 4.43% on Trump's win and the possible GOP Congress sweep as well. So US 10-year at 4.435. That's largely what the US bond yield did. Bitcoin also very quickly has hit a record high of 76,000, slightly receded below that at 75,600 right now, but almost a 9% uptick coming in on Bitcoin alone. Ether also 16% higher. So it's looking healthy for the cryptos this morning as well, Shreyanshi.
Well, absolutely, but can't really say the same about oil, because when you take a look at crude prices, you're looking at a slight fall coming as investors are weighing a strong US dollar against the potential that US President-elect Donald Trump his foreign policy plans could squeeze global oil supply as well. So when you take a look at price moves, you're looking at Brent crude falling just about 61 cents or 0.8% there, about $74 per barrel is where that one was at. And when you take a look at US WTI as well, you're looking at a drop of just about 30 cents or 0.4% coming in for that one as well. A close around that $71 per barrel level as well for WTI. When you take a look at what we're keeping an eye on, Trump's election triggered a large sell-off that pushed oil prices down by more than $2 per barrel during the session as the US dollar rallied, currently at its highest since September 2022. Now, mind you, a stronger dollar does make greenback-denominated commodities, the likes of oil, more expensive for holders of other currencies, and also tends to weigh on prices. So oil prices have since recouped some losses, though, made during early trading. Trump's re-election could also mean the renewal of sanctions on Iran, and on the other hand, you do have Trump's support for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that could also heighten instability in the Middle East. So that is something that we're keeping an eye on in terms of foreign policy and in terms of other factors that are likely to be important when it comes to oil prices. But let's also take a quick look at gold then, because gold prices slid more than 3% to 3-week low as investors piled into the US dollar after Republican Donald Trump was elected US president. So that is also something that we saw coming in, at least when gold is concerned. Risk appetite is improving, and on the other hand, you do have gold taking a hit on the back of that, as well as a stronger greenback. So that's the kind of roundup that we're looking at, Sneha.
Absolutely, and if you take a look at the implied open as well on the screen, that's not looking very positive for our markets, even though the global cues have been rather supportive, at least coming in from the US, but we'll talk about that a little later. First, let's take a look at all the important events to watch out for in today's trade. And back home, it's a Thursday, so you have the Nifty weekly expiry taking place today. In the US, like we told you, Fed rate decision is going to be one to watch out for, and you also have the initial jobless claims data coming in. Also from UK, some central bank action can be expected today, because you also have the Bank of England rate decision that will be coming out today. So watch out for both of these central banks and how they tackle with their interest rate trajectory going ahead. And from Eurozone, you have retail sales. From China, you have trade data as well as forex reserves. So in fact, it's going to be a data heavy day today, at least on the global macroeconomic front. But also in terms of global earnings, you have Airbnb, Motorola and Rivian among others. But shifting focus back home from the Nifty pack, you have two companies coming out with their Q2 numbers today, the likes of M&M and Trent. And also from the broader markets, from the non-Nifty ones, you have a whole host of companies like Alembic Pharma, Cummins India, Emami, Escorts, GSPL, ITDC Cementation, Cochin Shipyard, GE Shipping and a whole host of other companies as well. But in terms of corporate action, then today is the last day to buy the shares of CAMS, Dabur, Petronet LNG, REC and Z Entertainment to be eligible for their dividend. Now remember, the record date for the dividend eligibility is 8th November, which means if you want to be eligible for that, you will have to buy the shares today for them to reflect in your portfolio tomorrow. On the primary markets front, then you have the Niva Bupa IPO that will be opening today and the Surgility India IPO that will be closing. It's the last day to subscribe to that IPO if you wish to. And in terms of other events, you also have the ECB chief economist Philip Lane that's all set to speak. So that's going to be an important commentary to watch out for, along with, of course, what the US Fed Chair Jerome Powell has to say after they announce their rate cut that the street is penciling in as well. So lots to watch out for in today's trade.
This will truly be the golden age of America. That's what we have to. Together we're going to unlock America's glorious destiny, and we're going to achieve the most incredible future.
All right, then can't take the spotlight away from that election that elected the 47th President of the United States of America, and US Vice President Harris concedes defeat to a roaring crowd after Donald Trump wins in a historic ballot. However, the Democrat leader also added that she has not conceded the fight that fueled the campaign and that they will continue to fight for freedom and opportunity. She also added that she spoke with Trump and congratulated him and that they would help the team with the transition to ensure a peaceful transfer of power. Now, Trump's victory following one of the most hostile campaigns in modern US history was all the more remarkable given an unprecedented criminal conviction, a near-miss assassination attempt, as well as warnings from a former chief of staff that he is a fascist. Now, at 78, he will be the oldest president during his inauguration scheduled on January 20th. In fact, let's also go across and listen into what Harris then had to say.
My heart is full today. My heart is full today, full of gratitude for the trust you have placed in me, full of love for our country, and full of resolve. The outcome of this election is not what we wanted, not what we fought for, not what we voted for, but hear me when I say, the light of America's promise will always burn bright. As long as we never give up and as long as we keep fighting. While I concede this election, I do not concede the fight that fueled this campaign. The fight for freedom, for opportunity, for fairness, and the dignity of all people. A fight for the ideals at the heart of our nation, the ideals that reflect America at our best. That is a fight I will never give up. I will never give up the fight for a future where Americans can pursue their dreams, ambitions, and aspirations, where the women of America have the freedom to make decisions about their own body and not have their government telling them what to do. We will never give up the fight to protect our schools and our streets from gun violence.
Okay, on that note, we spoke with a whole host of experts after the most awaited US elections verdict from the likes of Jayant Das Gupta, ex-WTO, to Ajay Bagga, to a perspective on the same. Let's go across and listen into their views.
Well, I don't think he's going to go against American businesses which are creating jobs in the US and which are contributing to the GDP of the US. To that extent, I think he will refrain from taking action. He is very clear in his mind that he wants to encourage companies to grow bigger, to have more profits, to contribute to the economy, contribute, and in a very positive manner, also contribute to the jobs, because that is one of the things I think in this election. There are two things which seem to have, caused some, damage to the Democrats. One is the inflation, which the administration couldn't control in the past 4 years. And the second thing was the, job market was more or less, I don't say that unemployment was high, it was not. But the real wages, if you look at the real wages of people, especially the lower income people, that didn't rise and it was getting eroded.
The key thing is that what you're seeing now, President Trump has got a mandate. He has the Senate, so appointments are going to go through without any problem. He might get the House. So you're going to see a mandate. If that leads to 2.5%, 3% growth, you could really see a very booming global economy. And that should really be a good news for everyone, as far as I see, because there are lots of things that US is not going to manufacture. So there will be rhetoric. There will be rhetoric about tariff. There will be rhetoric about what US wants to do. In terms of national security, yes, some of the manufacturing will happen in the US, but there's lots that they can't do, and that is going to come to India if it is not going to China. So I think it should be good news for global economy.
India is certainly looking forward to the 4 years with President Trump in charge because he has had a very close interaction not only with the Indian leadership, Prime Minister Modi, during 2016-20, but also he has looked at the points of convergence between India and USA. And I think here China angle is certainly going to be a very important one because it is President Trump who first actually really called out China. I mean, from a point where, everybody in America had been thinking that if we push investments into China, if we give them prosperity, democracy will follow, really calling out that very, very, I think, incorrect assessment that had been made. I think this is what President Trump had done. And he called out the first rounds of tariffs against China, denying them technology, denying them participation in 5G and so on and all that.
You can expect, one is with the dollar stronger, the dollar price of the commodities goes down, but as a rupee weakens, at the pump we'll be paying more as consumers. So the government will have to take care of that rupee weakness by passing on some higher rates for petrol, diesel, and aviation fuel. The second part is oil industry is a clear winner. In fact, the shale industry has really hailed Trump's winning. And in that, the refiners also win. Discretionary spends by corporates can increase, and their confidence levels will be boosted to spend on IT. And that will get us more than the issues from the immigration sides that the managements have been handling. But overall aggregate demand for IT will increase. The banks, big banks with the less regulation is going to dismantle most of the remaining regulations and lesser taxes. Big banks will have discretionary pools going up.
All right, then there you go. That's the word coming in from the experts as well. But let's also go across and listen into what External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar then had to say about the verdict.
I think it's also important to look at the US more nationally than just purely in terms of the ideology of the administration of the day. And if one looks at it nationally, there are factors. I mean, it's a kind of a relative power differential. It is a resource issue. There are pressures on resources in the United States. I think when one follows American domestic politics, there are conclusions for all of us to draw. And I absolutely agree with Winston, which is that when we look at the US, we should be analyzing them rather than projecting our preferred outcome or expectation.
Keep it going with reactions pouring in from Indian politicians, and Congress MP Shashi Tharoor also reacted on Trump as president. He said that there won't be many surprises for India, at least, because New Delhi has dealt with Trump's presidency before. Let's go across and listen into what else he had to add.
We know that he's a very transactional leader. He will basically say, what's in it for us? If you want something from us, what are you giving us? That kind of mentality is very much there. He's very tough on trade. I think he's said that he doesn't like India's tariffs, and that if India is going to impose tariffs on American goods, America will impose tariffs on Indian goods, and that could be a problem for our companies that are exporting to America. That's something we'll have to watch out for. He's tough on immigration, and that could be a potential issue for some of our family reunion cases, plus future H-1Bs and so on. So there are some of these areas of issue. But otherwise, broadly speaking, he's been very friendly with Mr. Modi and the government of India. He's been tough on China, which of course, given our own troubles with China, is not bad for us. So I think, these are the kinds of things we can expect on the basis of his existing track record. One can say he's a known commodity. And a President Harris would have been a somewhat more uncertain or unknown figure, but with President Trump, I think you can pretty much assume that you know what you're going to get.
All right, then moving on, my colleague Shreya Upadhyay also caught up with Karen Giorno, former Trump advisor as well. Let's go across and listen into a slice of that conversation for some insights on what the policy then could look like, what the president-elect's policies then could look like then.
It is a celebration here for a good portion of the country. I'm not going to say that half the country is excited for this outcome, but certainly someone like myself and those who've worked very diligently to get Donald Trump reelected, this is not only a wonderful morning to wake up to, but also a celebration for the future of the country. We have probably...
Karen, this has been a high-octane, high-pitched battle. Yes. Yes, please go ahead, Karen.
No, I was just going to say, this is probably going to be studied in historic political books, but also just in history in general as to how this unfolded. As you all have been watching our U.S. elections and looking at the different cycles, you pointed out that this has not happened since Grover Cleveland. And there's a lot of similarities. However, there are a lot of unique attributes to what just happened today with this unique man. He is a historic figure now for all to study, and but also to anticipate what he is going to do not only for the United States of America, but how it will affect the world.
You know, Karen, for both sides, the Republicans as well as the Democrats, this was a high-octane, high-pitched election battle that was panning out in the past few months. We've also seen two major assassination attempts against Donald Trump. We've seen some, intense political war of words that's been happening between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. But as per you, as somebody who's worked closely with Donald Trump, somebody who's been his strategist as well, what has worked for Donald Trump this time around?
I think he has been just authentically Donald Trump. What you see is what you get. So I'll give you the example of when he went in to work at the McDonald's just recently in the closing arguments of this race. He did not put on a costume. He wore what he normally would wear. He wasn't trying to be anyone but Donald Trump. But what he was able to do was connect with the average American.
Okay, on that note, it's a wrap on the election coverage here at ET Now, but we'll be right back and bring you more updates coming in from overseas. Remember, you also have the Fed rate decision today, so we'll talk a little bit more about that just on the other side of this very short break. So you stay tuned, we'll be right back. Hi there, welcome back to Market Cafe. You're watching ET Now. Let's talk about the much awaited and much discussed IPO on the street right now, and that is quick commerce giant Swiggy's IPO, because that is open for subscription yesterday, and as of 5 p.m. last evening, it has been subscribed 0.06 times, while retail investors subscribed 0.27 times, employees portion saw 0.34 times subscription. NII bids were modest at just 0.02 times. However, Swiggy did not see any bids from QIB. Remember that via this IPO, Swiggy plans to raise around 11,300 crore and the price band for the issue is set at 371 to 390 rupees per share. But food delivery aggregator Swiggy has just opened for public subscription, and how is it likely to fare compared to Zomato? We spoke to Rahul Jain, VP Research at Daulat Capital, to understand his views. Let's go across and listen in.
Purely from a relative valuation perspective, they have priced it well. So that gives an opportunity for anybody who is confident on a very, very long-term play in both the businesses. I think it's a good option for somebody to pare down exposure in Zomato and have a little bit exposure in this particular name. So that way, I would say valuation has been, has been good looking at what Zomato is trading at versus what Swiggy is getting offered. But as I said, we have not released any formal view on it, so I won't say subscribe, not subscribe, but it's on a relative basis, it is definitely priced better versus Zomato. QC becoming better than food delivery is kind of an obvious thing. I think how Swiggy being a different from Zomato is basically having a common fleet, and there's a certain leverage from the same consumer base and stuff like that. Is that going to change the play or unit economics favorable? Is something that Swiggy needs to demonstrate in the coming period. And that would be the differentiating angle that they can probably bring into the space.
All right, then that's the word coming in from Rahul Jain of Daulat Capital when it comes to the IPO. Moving on, then the cabinet meet is concluded and sources confirm that the central government has approved 10,000 crore support for the Food Corporation of India. In fact, my colleague Prakash Priyadarshi is standing by with more details. Prakash, help us with the key takeaways when it comes to this particular cabinet meet then.
The Indian cabinet has taken two important decisions, and the first one is with regard to food sector, where the cabinet has given its nod to the proposal to provide financial support of rupees 10,700 crore to the Food Corporation of India. A very significant development coming in that will encourage Food Corporation of India to make further procurement. With this additional financial support, the overall equity infusion by the central government has increased to rupees 21,000 crore. In addition to that, the cabinet has also accepted the proposal to launch a new education loan scheme for higher studies in a domestic institution, where the cabinet has decided to provide education loan up to rupees 10 lakh for higher education in domestic institution, and that will be supported by the central government, where 75% credit guarantee will be provided to support banks to extend coverage. Along with that, the students will also get benefit of interest subsidy, and that will be in a range of 3%. A very significant development coming in. As you are aware that the Indian Finance Minister has already announced this scheme in the last budget, and today Indian Cabinet has given its nod.
Prakash for taking us through the key takeaways of that particular cabinet meeting. But let's shift focus to some auto sales then. And festive season has been good for auto players, according to CS Vigneshwar, president at FADA. Listen in to what he had to say about FADA's expectations from the sales in November and December.
The month of October, which starts off the festive season, has been quite good. We've been having an overall 32% increase year on year and 64% increase month on month for the industry across. So the passenger vehicle, the two-wheeler markets both have done quite well. The passenger vehicle has grown 75% month on month and 32% year on year, while in the two-wheeler it's grown 36% year on year and 71% month on month. So these are quite exciting figures. The industry has been good. The model availability has been great. Also, the offers have been never seen before. And I think these things have really led to a very positive festive season. And for us, the festive season is just starting, because the month of November, until half the month of November, we still have the festive season going on. And to look ahead to November and December, I think it's quite positive again, because we have ample amount of stock. And another important thing which figures out here is that we expect 4.8 million marriages to happen.
All right, then that's the word coming in from the president of FADA. Moving on, then a slew of stocks will be in focus in today's trading session, as MSCI has rejected its standard index as well as small cap index. What will be the impact then of the key increase as well as the decrease in weightage? Somit is joining in with the answer and more details.
Well, MSCI has made the announcement of its changes when it comes to its standard and the small cap indices. Now, flows regarding these changes are expected to happen on November 25th. But what are the changes that MSCI has made? Firstly, they have added 5 stocks to the standard index and 13 stocks to the small cap index, while 7 of them are moving out of the small cap index. Now, stocks that are added to the standard index include the likes of Alchem Labs, Voltas, Oberoi Realty, Kalyan Jewellers and BAC. Now, all of these stocks are pretty much expected by analysts to get included in the MSCI index, and the flows regarding these stocks are expected to be anywhere between 180 to 280 million US dollars, which is nearly 1 to 15 times the 20-day moving average. Now, apart from this, few stocks that we need to keep an eye out for because of the increase in the weightage, that is HDFC Bank, that could see an inflow of close to 1.7 billion US dollars on the back of increase in weightage, which is nearly 5 times its 20-day moving average. Apart from that is JSW Energy, Samvardhana Motherson, APL Apollo Tubes, JSPL and PB Fintech, which could also see an increase in their weightage, and inflows regarding this could be anywhere between 10 to 50 million US dollars. Now, one negative development that has come in for the Adani group of stocks, firstly, is that Adani Energy Solution was supposed to be included in the MSCI index, but that has not happened because MSCI has shown concern regarding its free float, and they have said that they have not included Adani Energy Solution to the MSCI index because of the show cause notice given by SEBI for the potential wrongful categorization of shareholding for certain entities. MSCI has also said that they continue to monitor Adani Group and associated securities, including related to the free float, and will further communicate if there is some material development regarding this. Now, because of this, they have also reduced the weightage when it comes to a couple of Adani Group stocks, that is Adani Green and Adani Power, and outflows regarding because of this lower weightages could be anywhere between 100 to 150 million US dollars. So keep an eye out for these stocks in trade.
Okay, Somit, thanks so much for taking us through that. So lots of stocks to watch out for in today's trade on the back of this MSCI rejig coming in. But on that note, we'll slip into a very short break on this edition of Market Cafe, and on the other side, we'll be bringing you more stock-specific news and updates, as well as what brokerages are flagging off bright and early this morning. So you stay tuned.
Thank thank you so much for staying tuned in. Well, let's get to some more earnings updates then. And Tata Steel reported a dip when it comes to the top and bottom line. When you take a look at the revenue as well, you're looking at a dip coming in of over 1%. When you take a look at profit after tax as well, downtick of just about 13% on a sequential basis coming in there as well. In fact, Ashesha is standing by with the highlights as well as what the brokerages then are saying about the counter.
Well, yes, although sequentially numbers have been impacted on account of lower steel prices in the quarter gone by, Tata Steel has reported better than expected set of numbers. Revenues at about 53,900 crores versus expectations of 53,000 crores, and margins have also come in better than estimates at about 11.4% versus ET now poll of about 9.4%. Remember, volumes were on the higher side and coking coal prices also declined on a sequential basis, and that positively offset the negative impact of lower steel prices in the quarter gone by. As far as Europe EBITDA per ton loss is concerned, that has widened on a sequential basis. It has come in at $72 per ton, in line with expectations, but increase on a sequential basis is what we have seen as far as EBITDA per ton spreads for European region are concerned. Meanwhile, standalone EBITDA per ton has come in much better than what the street was working with, and this is on account of lower expenses. A management commentary on the reason and whether lower expenses are sustainable or not will be keenly awaited. A key negative will be increase in debt. Debt has risen to about 88,800 crores, which is an increase of about 8% on a sequential basis. JP Morgan has maintained its overweight stance with a target price of 180. They expect the stock to react positively on account of strong beat as far as numbers are concerned, and they do not see any negatives from the numbers this time around. Morgan Stanley, meanwhile, is also maintaining its equal weight stance. 175 is their target price. They believe management guidance on domestic and international business and the guidance on spreads for the second half of the year will be keenly awaited. But all in all, strong set of numbers. Management commentary in terms of debt and guidance for the second half of the year will be crucial now.
Okay, Ashesha, thanks so much for taking us through that. So Tata Steel will be in focus on the back of good earnings like Ashesha mentioned, but a weak outlook coming in. So let's see how the market reacts to that. But a whole host of other stocks will be in focus on the back of their earnings or individual news flows. And my colleague Ria brings us the list of the stocks to watch out for in trade today. Ria, good morning.
Yes, good morning. So let's take a look at the stocks that are going to be in focus today. We have a whole host of companies reporting their Q2 FY25 numbers. First up is Apollo Hospitals reporting a very strong set of numbers. The revenue has gone up around 15% over the previous year. A big jump on the net profit side as well, around 63% on a year-on-year basis. Even the EBITDA has gone up around 30% on a year-on-year basis to 815.5 crores. And we've also seen an expansion on the margin side of 164 basis points, coming in at 14.6% in this quarter. We also have Blue Star reporting quite a good set of numbers. The revenue and EBITDA have both jumped up around 20 to 21% on a year-on-year basis. The margins are largely flat at 6.6% in this quarter, and the net profit has also seen quite a healthy growth of 36% over the previous year. Let's also talk about Power Grid Corporation, which has reported quite a weak set of numbers in this quarter. Now, the revenue and net profit are largely flat compared to Q2 of last year. Even the EBITDA is down around 2% on a year-on-year basis, and we've also seen a contraction on the margin side of 192 basis points, coming in at 86% in this quarter. We also have Nerolac reporting quite a weak set of numbers. The revenue has gone down marginally on a year-on-year basis, but on the net profit and EBITDA side, that has gone down significantly over the previous year, about 31% and 22% respectively. And on the margin side as well, we've seen a contraction of 311 basis points on a year-on-year basis. We also have Delta Corp reporting quite a weak set of numbers. Revenue down around 28% on a year-on-year basis, but a huge decline on the profitability side. The net profit and EBITDA have both gone down around 61% and 66% respectively. And on the margin side as well, we've seen a contraction of over 2,000 basis points. So weak set coming in for Delta Corp. So definitely keeping an eye out on all of these stocks today.
Well, absolutely, Ria. Thank you so much for that update coming in. So there you go. That's the list of stocks that are likely to be in focus in trade today. Moving on, then let's get to the futures and options roundup. And Ansh is standing by with just that. Ansh?
Well, yes, so Nifty gave a good move in the previous session, but the same excitement is not seen in index future. Because if you see FII in the previous session have actually trimmed the long position by around 2,300 contract. They have added some shorts as well by around 2,200 contract. So net to net basis, we are seeing addition of around 4,500 contracts on downside. Whereas if you talk about retail, then they have added longs by around 6,300 contract, but at the same time they have added shorts as well by around almost 4,700 contract, due to which the net buying is just 1,700 contract. Now if we talk about Nifty, then yes, in the previous session we saw a good move, but Nifty is around its a key consolidation phase of that 24,500. We need to give a good decisive breach from that 24,500 to have good positivity in the market. Also on option front, today we have weekly option expiry, so we may see some good volatility in the market. So we are seeing good call buying happening at 24,500, indicating option traders are getting a bit optimistic and they are expecting Nifty to go above this level. Now if we talk about Nifty Bank, then Nifty Bank has been hovering around that 100 EMA from last 24-25 sessions with max deviation of just around 2.5%. So even this index seems to be in a consolidation phase. Whereas on option front, we are seeing some good call buying happening at 52,500, indicating option traders are expecting Nifty Bank to go above this level and close there. So keep an eye on these levels.
Priyansh, thanks for taking us through all the levels to watch out for in today's trade, especially given today is the weekly Nifty expiry, so we can expect some volatility there. But on that note, it's a goodbye from Shriyansi and me on this edition of Market Cafe. But as we bid you goodbye, you stay tuned to ET now, because the market takes all the action forward.